Welcome to True Crime with Strategic Eyes.
Strategic back again. All right, we got some updates on this Lilly and Jack case. It's a very, very, very sad case out of Nova Scotia. These two beautiful little kids missing. Apparently, if you listen to what the parents said, they got out of the house, they were playing outside, and then they just disappeared, right? There's a lot of holes in the story. We went through it in other videos. I definitely would encourage you to go check out the other videos so you guys can see exactly what we're talking about. But today we have a update for you guys. I want to keep it quick and straight to the point so you can get the information. As we get new information, we're always going to share it with you guys. I personally believe that the parents had something to do with this. There's something about the mother and the stepfather that just came off as very suspicious to me. The way that they were interacting with the media, the fact that we've only gotten one real statement from the mother, multiple statements from the stepfather, and then he said things like, they're accusing me of doing stuff, so we had to kick them off the property, at which point it looks like the mother and him broke up over this situation, and the mother's living somewhere else. There's a lot of drama going on with this, but the most consistent thing that we could cling to is that Lilly and Jack are still missing. Lilly and Jack Sullivan are still missing, and these families live in a very wooded area. So if in fact these young kids wandered into the woods, well, it's very highly unlikely they're no longer with us, considering that this is going into like, what is fourth week? I mean, conservatively, you'd say third week, but I think we're going into our fourth week of these young children missing. So we're definitely not looking too good. The police have also said that they have ruled out an abduction, which was very peculiar to me because you never really want to rule anything out. And we talked about this on this show weeks ago, that them saying that they're ruling out an abduction, they have to have evidence. If they don't have evidence, hard, concrete evidence that these kids weren't abducted, then they're hampering their own investigation because people will stop looking into that angle, right? Once you come out to the media and say, we are the police, we're the experts, we don't believe that these kids were abducted, well, then people are not going to look and think about the suspicious things they may or may not have observed in or around that roadway that would make them say, you know what? I remember a pickup truck, or I remember a small Honda Civic, or I remember the dirt bike, whatever, parked in front of the house, and then it sped off and it seemed very suspicious to me, but I didn't say anything because I didn't know who it was. But now maybe you guys might want to look into that. And guess what? I got dash cam footage and I saved it, and here's a plate number. A lot of times these things are time sensitive because those dash cams, those ring cameras, those surveillance videos, they'll re-record over themselves after a certain period of time. So now if you're saying 3-4 weeks that these kids weren't abducted, people are not going to be looking over their video. They're not going to be saving video. They're not going to give you these leads because they feel like, well, why should I do that? They said that it's not an abduction. So that's a very, very, very big and bold claim by the police that, unless they had the facts, I think is misconduct. It's definitely bad if that's the case, but we don't know what they have. I'm just telling you from my perspective what I think. But here's an update on Lilly and Jack. Two young Nova Scotia siblings reported missing 26 days ago. It's been that long, guys. 26 days ago, were seen in public with family members one day earlier, according to the RCMP. And that's big because at least we're getting a timeline. Remember, those kids didn't go to school for a couple of days. And so we didn't know if and when those kids were unalived prior to that. At least we know that 24 hours before they were reported missing, they were still alive, okay? Let's keep going. The disappearance of Lilly Sullivan and Jack Sullivan from the trailer home on Gairloch Road, if I'm saying that incorrectly, I apologize, in Lansdowne Station, Pictou County, if I'm saying any of these names incorrectly, I apologize, that they shared with their mother's stepfather and the couple's baby prompted a massive search in the surrounding wooded area. Based on the details we've gathered so far, we've confirmed that Lilly and Jack were observed in public with family members on the afternoon of May 1st, Corporal Sandy Martharu of the Northeast Nova Scotia RCMP Major Crime Unit said Wednesday in a news release. Mounties first got the call on Friday, May 2nd at 10 a.m. that Lilly 6 and Jack 4 were missing. On Wednesday, investigators said they had already collected hours of video from areas surrounding the Lansdowne station, but they're looking for more. We're now asking anyone who has dash cam footage or video along Gerlach Road between 12 p.m. and April 28th and 12 p.m. of May 2nd to contact us. Mounties are following up on 355 tips they fielded in the case. RCMP officers have also formally interviewed over 50 people, with more interviews planned in the coming days, said the news release. Daniel Robert Martell, who identifies as the children's stepfather, told the Chronicle Herald earlier this month that he and the children's mother, Malaya Brooks Murray, last heard Jack and Lilly on the morning of May 2nd as they lay in bed with their baby. The sun was already up and Lilly came into the bedroom, said Martell. She had a pink shirt on. We could hear Jackie in the kitchen. And they're saying that these kids may have had some developmental issues and like they're just running amok and nobody's watching them. I mean, like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, right? But let's keep going. A few minutes later, we didn't hear them, so I went out to check. The sliding door was closed. Their boots were gone. So these kids put on their own boots. A 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. I'm still lacing up my 6-year-old shoes. I mean, you can't really match kid with kid. Every kid is different. Every kid is on their own level. Somebody will say, well, my 6-year-old ties up their own shoes and goes about their business. So you can't really do that. But you're saying that these kids, there are rumors going around. Some are saying they're nonverbal. Some are saying that they are verbal, but they might be autistic or on the spectrum somehow. And like they're both lacing up their boots and just going for a hike. I'm not believing it. Anyway, let's keep going. He surmised the children slipped outside through a sliding door, Martell said, and then they closed the sliding door behind them. So we leave, we open up. Sliding doors are very difficult to open. They are. I've opened up a lot of sliding doors in my life and they're very difficult to open. They definitely have a lot of friction to them. They're made that way, right? So they open up a very difficult door to open. And then they close it after they leave. That doesn't seem very 6 and 4-year-old-ish to me, right? But whatever. We don't know these kids. Maybe they would do something like that. Martell said when they noticed the 2 children were missing May 2nd, he immediately jumped into the car and searched neighboring roads, looking in culverts. By the time he returned home, the RCMP were there, having been called by the children's mother. Interesting. Martell is not Jack and Lily's father. He's been Brooke Murray's partner for 3 years, though after the children disappeared, she reportedly left him in a county with their baby and is staying with family. I want to understand why this is. Why this is. Let's keep going. Earlier this month, Martell said that he had been working with the Northeast Nova Major Crime, had provided the RCMP with his cell phone and had agreed to take a lie detector test. Mounties have previously said there is no evidence the children were abducted. I'd like to know what the results of that lie detector test is. On the weekend after they vanished, Brooks Murray told CTV that Jack and Lilly are not typically the type of children who will go outside on their own. I just want to remain hopeful, but there's always in a mother's mind, you're always thinking the worst. That's what their mom said. Lilly and Jack's disappearance prompted a large-scale ground and air search that began immediately after the children were reported missing on May 2nd. Hundreds of searchers, multiple dogs, a variety of drones, an underwater recovery team, and several aircraft scoured a heavily wooded 5.5-kilometer area before search efforts were scaled back on May 7th. Additional searches took place on May 8th, 9th, 17th, and May 18th. Any future searches will be determined based on the course of the investigation. Basically, they're looking to see if these kids are still alive, just to find the remains, basically. Mounties are fully engaged in figuring out what happened to the children. We're using all tools and resources to determine the circumstances of the disappearance. We understand people's desire for answers and updates. However, this is an active investigation. We're unable to discuss details of our ongoing work. Wow. So if you see anything, you hear anything, call 1-800-222-TIPS. Crime Stoppers in California. I guess they have a Crime Stoppers. Of course, they have one in New York. New York, in the US, period. Crime Stop is everywhere in America. And they have one in Canada as well, apparently. All right, so that's the update on Jack and Lily and Jack, these two beautiful angels who unfortunately were removed from us by God knows who. I do have my suspicions, but we don't really know what happened to them. So we'll have to wait and see, okay? But we're going to keep bringing awareness to this, because I'm telling you right now from my expertise, guys, if we stop talking about it, this will fade away. If we don't keep putting pressure on the Canadian government to find out what happened to these children and keep their name inside of that lexicon of everybody who's watching on YouTube, there's a possibility somebody might get away with a horrendous crime. So we got to keep talking about it. We got to keep letting these officials know that we want justice for Lily and Jack. And that's the only way you're going to get it, through awareness, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll see you guys on the next one. Strategic is out of here. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. And make sure you leave a comment inside of the comment section, even if it is just where you're watching from. Strategic is out of here. Peace.